Welcome back, everyone. We had such great insights and comments from that last panel, and I'm sure that it's going to be true for this panel as well. We're going to be talking about streaming, composing and creating into the social vacuum. And with that, I will hand it over to my fellow music educator, Jeremy Peters. Jeremy, take it away.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Jeremy Peters. I'm an assistant professor of music, business and entertainment at Wayne State University. In this panel, so I'll just quick read off the topic. So for anybody that's coming in, the 2020 was a year of virtual creation and community. We're wondering if this is going to stick as a permanent mode of creation and collaboration or not. What will things become in 2021 and beyond? Well, we're going to try to discuss all the challenges in creating these hybrid and virtual environments and how we did our work as creators and composers and the people that support those going forward. I wanted to turn it over quickly to Robert, Natasha, Ritnika, and Jonathan to do a quick introduction of themselves. So we'll start with Robert.
Thanks, everybody. If I've got too much noise in the background, we can go to somebody else. But I'm Robert Singerman. Did Be Present Everywhere last night, and that was a whole lot of fun with about 30 speakers. I'm SVP at lyricfine, international international publishing. My mission has been to give music subtitles. I'm also a partner in Sync Summit, a partner in Mondo, a partner in the new top-level domain .music that's coming up very shortly. That should be really exciting, and a few other companies as well. But thanks very much, and it's been a pretty amazing year. Thank you, Storm and Gigi, for starting it off right with Amplify last year that I had the pleasure of being involved in. And I've been doing more conferences this year. I did 3 today in 3 different countries. So that if we had to travel all of those things, it would be impossible. So I'll turn the baton over to whoever's next. Ritnika, I think.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Ritnika Nayan. I am from New Delhi, India. I am the country head for CD Baby India, and I also represent various downtown music holding companies, including Songtrust, Adrev, Fuga, and a bunch of other companies. I also own my own music company called Music Gets Me High that basically does large-scale music festivals, artist management, music business education. And yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
Awesome. Natasha, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Natasha Pasternak. I'm originally a touring artist, songwriter, producer. I now lecture at UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music. I lecture songwriting, as well as I work in correctional institutions, and I teach songwriting as a part of the rehabilitation, as well as juvenile detention centers. And I have my own company called Desert Dream Creative, where I do similar things. I bring songwriting to either communities that want something different and creative to bring to their communities, or to bring into corporations as a part of a team building exercise, or into educational institutions. So I do it all, many hats.
Awesome. And last but not least, certainly Jonathan.
Hi, yes, I'm Jonathan McHugh. I am a freelance producer, director, composer. I'm sorry, not composer, music supervisor. I work with a lot of composers. And I have been making movies for the last 15, 20 years, music supervising for about the same. And I also teach at American University in Washington, D.C. with the legendary John Simpson.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. And I just wanted to quickly thank lyricfine for sponsoring, if I remember correctly, this panel. So thank you very much for that, Robert, and for your company. So there we go, product placement. So we've talked a little bit about how we're all getting on in this time, and we're all still working, but in way different ways than before. What sort of things have come about, maybe for the better? Specifically, I'm kind of curious. I had a little bit of a talk with Jonathan about how the process of patching sessions, for example, as you're going into work with, or spotting sessions rather, as you're going into work and to put music to picture, perhaps with a composer and with a filmmaker, how has that sort of changed because of COVID? Do you think that there's going to be sort of an outcome that will exist in the future because of that?
I mean, currently it's been, it's a blessing and a curse. A TV show that I'm on, we've been doing spotting sessions through a system called Pack Post, where we all get to see the content at the same time and comment on it, going over composer notes, going over music supervisor choices. So that's been okay. There's nothing like the in-person nature of it, and you feel slightly disconnected. To have a lot of pre-records on set where they're performing. Pre-records mean they're mouthing a song or creating a song on set on while they're shooting, and to not be there just incredibly weird and feels like a bit of a loss. And as we start our mix this week, actually, I was like, I wanted to go because I'm vaccinated, I'm ready to go. But they're like, no, it's going to be on, it's going to be on this Realcast thing or Evercast system, and they won't let more than 4 people in the room. So, after all this time, you'd like to connect with people and be there. And there's nothing like when you're doing a mix and you could say, yeah, turn that up. And can you really get the fidelity on your computer speakers that you really need to be in the room? This TV show I'm doing called Blind Spotting, which was a movie. And when we mixed the movie, it went to Sundance and was the opening night movie at Sundance, and Robert Redford introduced it, and it's called Blind Spotting. It was on Obama's top 10 list, and we got a grant for Dolby Atmos. So to be in the room at the Paramount Michael Bay soundstage, which is probably one of the finer sound stages in the world, mixed sound stages, and to be in that room and watch the sound, hear the sound come around, and now cut to you're doing the TV show and you're doing it on your computer. It's like night and day. There's nothing to it. The only blessing for me on that level was over Zoom. I basically learned to edit on Premiere because my editor was, I'm in a very small room office here. And so, he's all the way in the valley. He's 45 minutes away on a non-traffic day. And so he was able to just come in on Zoom, work with me and let me do my thing and charge me less than he would to drive all the way down here to edit for me. So that technology has been really a blessing to be able to do that with Premiere over Zoom. So I, again, I'm a people person, so I'd rather be in the room always, but to keep things moving and not stop the ball rolling, it's efficient enough.
Thank you for that. It's kind of rolling off that same comment. I'm intrigued about, and this is, I guess, for everybody, what I was going to start with. You're both working in music publishing, and classically, there's a lot of meetings, a lot of traveling, a lot of handshaking that goes on in that process. Obviously, a lot of email too. But how have things sort of shifted as we've tried to support composers and lyric writers and creators and in your lines of work and tried to keep the ball rolling in the midst of that? And especially Ritnika, what are we not understanding about sort of the market where you're from?
Honestly, the main part of my work was focused mainly on CD Baby, helping artists release music. The thing with India is, from the distribution point of view, I know it sounds weird, but COVID was actually a blessing, because in India, touring was the main focus. So most artists, first thing was, okay, let's play shows, and then maybe we'll record a song later on, And then last year, when the whole world kind of went under lockdown, they had nothing to do. So there were artists who had never released. These are artists who are touring and getting a lot of money, but they hadn't really recorded or done anything. Everybody started recording music and everybody started releasing music. So that was great. The other side of it was India is ruled by Bollywood. And majority of our music comes from Bollywood, like 90% comes from Bollywood and regional film music. All our music, our movies are musicals. Because of the lockdown, there were no films coming out. And because of that, independent artists who were releasing music got to, kind of shine. They got to be placed on playlists because they weren't competing with Bollywood anymore. So, even though we couldn't have meetings and we couldn't go out and travel, and I do a lot of workshops to educate, everything went digital. But from the distribution point of view and song creation and, release, it was blessing in disguise. I know this sounds horrible, but it was,
From my perspective, lyricfine, has done very well this year. People listening to more streaming music. And in a way, when artists get off the road and are stuck, having opportunities for them to do things in a different way and get their metadata together and get their lyrics to us. And we were able to, through a Canadian Heritage grant, we were able to also pass along money to artists up front to get us their lyrics, which was the first time we ever did that. So that was really nice to be able to help people while they were broke and freaking out, a bit. So, for us, it's been good. For me personally, sometimes the societies who I deal with a lot aren't really that accessible if they're not in their offices. So that's been a little bit more difficult, but the publishers are all working hard. They're at home, and if you have a good relationship with them and you can kind of move things forward on Zoom, because of, what I do in the kind of general community, these Be Present Everywheres and the whole CAB, Chile, Argentina, Brazil Music Trade Mission Tour, which I changed this year to Collective and Beneficent, same initials. So that was a tour of music conferences that I routed so that executives could kind of meet Latin America. So I've been able to do many more conferences than I could if I was just flying everywhere. This is the third country that I'm in today, supposedly, presumably. It's a third conference, and there's actually another one in China that I might go on later today. And with in the publisher world, we've had Anna Bond from Song Trust, we've had Noel Gambuti, we had Alex Gershwin, kind of connecting through this platform that I'm home, I'm working. It's always been 24/7, 365 for me, but it's 24/7, 365 in one place, which is a little bit different. It's been a tragic year for many, but if and when we learn to pivot and do something new and do something in a different way, yes, there's a lot of great experiences that we lose because we're home, but also we gain a lot as well. So the publisher world, the work world has not been hurt really at all. Everybody at lyricfine's being just as productive as they've always been. And it's been good. I still want to get back to be able to hug people and see people and meet people and all the rest of it, like everybody. But we're all working hard and I think doing well. And again, it's events like this that make that possible. So thank you all.
So I'm curious, and you actually teed up my question for Natasha really well, about the sort of processes of work and how that sort of stayed the same and maybe changed. But I'm curious, both in your work, teaching and supporting other new songwriters who are going to come out into this post-COVID world, and sort of the quote unquote new normal, and in your own creative process, what sort of shifts have you seen? What's your sort of take on where we are, where we might be, for those composers that might be listening?
Yeah. Anyone who's in the entertainment business or the music business, sorry if you can hear fire trucks, it's the business of pivoting. There is no forward straight, path. You have to pivot and follow your own happened when COVID hit. I tend to, after doing this I'm doing this since I was 15 years old professionally. So a long time, 25 years now. You just learn to go, okay, so this is where it's going. Let's see how we can utilize this. I got to be a participant in a songwriting camp where I was working with artists from Iceland, Denmark, Norway, all at the same time, which I normally probably would have either had to go to those countries or they would have had to come to me to work with artists. I made a record. My husband's also a musician. The first month of lockdown, we wrote and recorded a record, which we'll be releasing shortly. So a lot of those things sort of came up. As far as an educator, that was a huge journey for me because I'm all about being in person, connecting with students and mentoring students across, being at UCLA, doing that also in the correctional institutions. So suddenly that was gone, that in-person connection of mentorship and encouragement in that direct way. So the first class I had about a month to transition a course online that I normally did in person. And that was sort of the crash course. That was like, I learned all the things in that course where, music is connection, collaboration, community. So how do you do that when it's on a screen? And how do you do that when people are suffering? And to make what you're teaching seem important in that time when a lot of, the students and families are going through so much intense things, like my past year with the civil unrest and COVID and politically, all of those things was just an intense thing. And then you expect them to pay attention to a 2.5-hour lecture on a screen, being like, let's be creative. So when I boiled it all down, long story short, when I boiled it all down, it's about actually just focusing on human connection and making sure we can find ways to create a community in this new world. I'm really hopeful. I love it. I think so much can come out of this. Yes, we lost a lot, and there's big parts of the industry that just didn't work anyways. And I think this will shift a lot of those parts, and maybe we can use this to find a new future for the industry, and especially for the parts of the industry that weren't exactly working. A lot of parts of touring wasn't working for artists, but we just accepted it because that's what it was. So I think maybe there's some leveling going on, and I'm pretty hopeful. But I think I've had nothing but wonderful growth in my own process as an artist and as an educator.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I'm kind of curious, and this is for kind of open call for anybody who's interested in answering, but maybe what should we look forward to continuing? I love the theme that Natasha was talking about, connection, and this idea of supporting our, creators and composers. There is going to be some sort of shift back to a new normal. And I'm curious what sort of things outside of maybe just what's worked well for us, that for the broader community, we think might be a way that we could, what's a change that should continue, or how we might support folks going forward.
I just heard Martin Atkins on the Canadian one. I was in Indie 101 a little while ago, and he was saying next time he gets his kit together and he's playing, he's definitely going to have his computer right there and, all his fans on it and everything else. And, so we've definitely, with a bunch of F-bombs in there, as Martin. The idea is that the only thing we can count on is change, and we're always changing, and there is no new normal. And whatever is going to be today is going to be today. Whatever is going to be tomorrow is going to be tomorrow, and we're all the ones that are the change agents. Everybody listening, everybody here, we're the ones who are making change. I think, but of course there will be this connectivity and I think there'll be a lot more collaboration and less, competition, and more working together. I think everybody being home has gotten them to kind of settle down and sit down and reflect and think about what can be better. And, at least that's my optimistic, idealistic view. Go ahead, Jonathan.
My take on it is, as I started an organization with a bunch of other people about 11 years ago called the Guild of Music Supervisors, we've had a lot of amazing growth. But this year, for example, we love doing, 3 or 4 trade missions per year with different entities. So this year we were able to do the Nordics, we were able to do Japan, and we were able to do Australia. And those are people that they're so far away. It's very hard for them to get here, even in a good year, because the cost of travel and hotel. And then we do, we work with them, and they meet the music supervisors. They play us music and do showcases or whatever. So it's actually very efficient to do it on Zoom, because they pre-record their stuff, and then the artists are on and they can play us their stuff, and we can talk to them, which is what I love doing, interacting with the talent and their managers and or publishers or labels. So we love those kind of connectivity pieces with international artists, because as a music supervisor, you don't care what the music, where it's from, as long as it sounds great. Like I was telling I was telling Ritnika that we just licensed some stuff from Filipino rap or Indonesian rap, I'm sorry, for the TV show I'm doing. And, you know, it's great that CD Baby has that thing and we can get that from them. And, you know, so we always look to do a better international reach out to connect people together. And Zoom is actually very effective and very, very cost effective, I should say. It's not like, there's nothing like going to see a band and hanging out with that band and having a beer with that band and meeting people from the different entities, as Robert says. You know, Robert does a great job and cruising the world and putting people together. So we love doing it too. And if Zoom is the way it is, we'll take it for now.
I think it's like coming off you're saying, like accessibility. Grew up with artist parents that they didn't have the income for me to go and buy $100 ticket to see, you know, fill in the blank. So now I can live stream, I can pay the $10, $15. It's not the same experience, but it's an experience that I was missing out on. And well, so I feel like
you onto that band and get you deeper in. So when you can, well, the next time they do come in, you know, you already know the material, which makes you stronger and makes the attendance a better look for you, because it's always a better thing when you know material of an artist you get to go see. It's a deeper connection.
And see them in their living room. How cool is that?
Yeah,
much more intimate on this stuff, more intimate connections with people and all of those great connectors. And really, if you're an artist with a lot of fans, you almost have to be a great connector. I mean, you know, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, you know, they're amazing fan connectors. And, you know, but you get to actually, not that they're necessarily in their living rooms, but, you know, Melissa Etheridge, 57 shows in a row, you know, every day, $50, 1,000 subscribers, $50 a month, you know, not bad.
I mean, talking about from the artist's point of view, I mean, I feel like because of technology and because of how things have changed from an Indian artist point of view, I feel like they've started exploring other avenues, which they hadn't. And I feel like that is something that would really benefit them. You know, our industry, even though is growing, is very, you know, it's still very, you know, live and Bollywood and whatever. But now they're like, okay, I can collaborate. Oh, I could release music. Oh, there's something called publishing. I had no idea, you know. So I'm hoping that trend of exploring different avenues where you can actually make money from different things kind of continues, and not just keep them, you know, all the eggs in one basket kind of thing. Because that's what we need. Because like Robert said, things are always changing. We don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's this sort of beneficial nature to all this Zoom connection, at least, you know, as much as it's not fun and we all get zoomed out. It sort of pre-warms the oven or pre-warms the connection that people can maybe take advantage of later on. The fact that we could even all be in the same place, not having to fly a million miles. Like, I'm in the middle of the US, people are all over the place. And that's so great. I guess I'm curious about, because of the increase of people sitting at home and watching things on TV. You know, I sat and watched Iceland Airwaves Music Festival because I'd missed going and was willing to pay the money for the ticket. And there's been a million other examples of that. With the increase of streaming, both for, you know, for everybody here, do you think there's more uses and more income actually coming out of it for songwriters? More opportunities maybe to be placed because there's so much streaming content happening or streaming festivals?
Well, I mean, for the placement side, I mean, we're always, as music supervisors as a whole, are always on the lookout for great music that will serve their projects well. And, you know, the more you can find, people can get you that music, whether it's a Spotify, whether it's the Bandcamps, whatever it is, but it's all about the knowledge. And there is too many of the live streams to keep up on. But for the ones that you target, it is a good way to deep dive and go, oh, that song, you know, that song actually may work in this scene. So the more people are out there doing it and performing and getting it to people like us, the more chances they have to be found out and to be licensed.
And people are in communities more now. So there are these communities like the Music Supervisors, Guild of Music Supervisors, or like, you know, our common friend Mark Frasier's Sync Summit, Sync Chats, you know, and they actually really establish communities among people who are teaching each other what to do, how to do it better, and maybe relieving some of the pressure to go tour. Because remember, most touring artists don't make money. They're doing it to build a career, to build a fan base, whatever. It's only the mid-level and top-tier artists who generally make money touring. So, in terms of family life, in terms of everything else, this is an opportunity to do things differently in a way that could actually be better for everybody and benefit everybody, and everybody can connect virtually, if not physically.
So there's a question from Hopin that I was curious about. Are any of you seeing, both as writers or publishers or working in the industry, and it sort of riffs off of what Robert was maybe mentioning earlier, are you seeing a delay in getting songs registered with performing rights organizations or interactions with those due to the pandemic and maybe other technological issues?
From my perspective, some organizations are much better than others. I'll just say that. Some organizations
not trying to call anybody out, but
some organizations have a ton of problems. I mean, Chuck, I think, mentioned BMI and ASCAP. I know that ASCAP pivoted really, really quickly. I know that Beth Matthews saw the pandemic coming back in January, because I have good friends at ASCAP, and totally got everything ready. And within a week, they were paying everybody and doing everything right. I'm not so sure about BMI, and I'm not so sure about the songs registry, but I'll pass it over to Ritnika, because she can talk to that. I know IPRS is kind of a strange one, as they say.
I don't think it's any better or any worse, if I can answer that question honestly, because I hope nobody from IPRS is watching this, but I don't really think, shit. But honestly, they're trying. So I know they came up with the whole streaming policy and things like that, but honestly, right now, I don't really consider publishing in India really publishing, to be fair. IPRS has a lot of other problems, and I don't think the pandemic was really that much of a problem, So I think we need to get all our other ducks in the row before we can even deal with how COVID and the pandemic has affected us, In
India, it's all the old way of how much money for MGs, which is like more India than any other country in the world right now. Yeah. And because it's Bollywood, because it's built on a history of filmmaking. So it's a different animal than any other country in the world.
Yep.
So we only have about 2 minutes left. I'm wondering if there's any sort of final takeaways on this that you wanted to share with the audience. Sort of here, if you have a golden nugget of wisdom or a takeaway, feel free to go ahead.
Don't give up. That's all I gotta say. Hang in there. It's gonna get better.
Yeah, and it's up to you to make it get better. It's up to everybody to make it get better for themselves and figure things out and do things differently and try new things and connect to your communities and find new communities and just keep rocking. And, Martin also said an overnight sensation takes 7 years to get there. So be patient and be strong and do things new.
I think the best advice I've ever been given is use your limitations as the best thing about you, or the most unique thing about you. So the limitations that we have now, use those to create something interesting, something out of the box.
And for me, I would just say, for the creators out there, just keep creating and keep figuring out how to market yourself. It's not enough, unfortunately, in today's world to just create. You have to figure out how, in this vacuum of just so much product and information out there, you have to figure out how to get your music to people. And tools like IMDb, where if you have a show that you watch, find out who the music supervisor is, see if that music is appropriate that you're making for those shows. Never reach out to supervisors blindly without knowing what they're working on, knowing that your music is appropriate. Make sure that you're really on point on your research.
This goes a good one for Sync Supervisors, right, Jonathan?
Thank you so much for everyone. Yes. I think we're pretty much done. I see Storm nodding at me. So I think we may be done. I want to wave goodbye to everybody.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Great panel. You all generated a lot of conversation, and a lot of people want to connect to you. So obviously your words of wisdom are shining through here, and we really appreciate it. We are going to take a 10-minute break and come back at 5 minutes to the hour and talk about financial bets for 2021. Stay with us, and we'll see you on the other end of the break.
Everybody can network in the networking rooms.
There you go.